Hello and welcome. I have been recording YouTube videos for almost 3 years now, quite regularly, and I thought that meant that I had got past the stage where I would record an entire video without realizing that my sound was not being recorded, but apparently it doesn't mean that. So, this morning I posted a botched attempt at the last mini case from the XL World Cup qualifier, which is this one here, the Race to Las Vegas, the one that I decided to skip in my last video. I decided to skip it because it looked, well, A, because the instructions were very long, but B, because based on the scoring, it looked like a very hard case. It turns out it's not quite that hard. I think the reason that all the scores were very low is because there was a mistake in the instructions, which I'll explain when I get there. And because of the way the question was written, that meant that, if you went wrong at some point along the way, then you never started being right again because each question depends on getting all the previous questions right. So anyway, I did a walkthrough, posted it on YouTube and LinkedIn, and then someone commented saying, "Hey, it's awfully quiet in here. Did you?" I'm like, yeah, I forgot the sound. Okay, I'm a moron. So now I'm going to try and record it again. It wasn't that long a video, luckily, not like my usual ones, but still feeling kind of stupid, and I'm probably going to hurry through it a little bit this time. So, quick explanation. We've got two cars racing. We've got a purple car and a green car. They're racing around this track that has 134 squares. They have to get past the 134 to win, so it's the first one to get to 135 wins a race. That is literally the only thing that you need the very pretty visual for, so we'll hide that now. They take turns rolling 3 dice. So in other words, here's the first 3 rolls are the first throw, the next 3 are the second throw, and so on across. And then each one has special abilities. So they move forward the number of pips that they roll, but then also with some modifiers. So for player 1, if they roll a 10, their next move counts double. If they roll a 15, their next 2 moves counts double. So it's a little bit like a strike and a spare in bowling, but the bonuses don't add up. So if you get a 15 on this turn and then a 15 on the next turn, then the next turn after that would be in range of both doubles, but you're not going to double it twice, you're only going to double it once. And it says here the bonuses get reset at the end of each game, but in fact, at least in the answers that were there on the day, and it's possible they've fixed it since then. I've still got the version I downloaded on the day. To match those answers, you need to not reset the bonuses at the end of each game, which is why if you follow the instructions as written, you'll get like the first 3 right and then go totally off track after that. Because instead of giving you 1 input for each level, they just give you one blob of 3,000 dice rolls, so 1,000 turns of 3 rolls each. And so the idea is you figure out, okay, one game ends here, which means that the next game starts from here on, and so on. So they've got an example separately, and they tell you that should end on this turn, and then they've got just a big blob. I think that's all I need to say by way of introduction. So I'm going to model this on a separate tab, and I'll start by doing the example. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap rows, sort of semi-standard trick to get that in sets of 3. It would help if I tell it what size rows I want to wrap it in. So that's the first 3, and just to double kind of visually check, that's 3, 6, 6, then 1, 2, 3. Here's 3, 6, 6, then 1, 2, 3. All good. And we end up with 26 turns, which again, yes, checks out, 26. Okay, so then we want to convert those into numbers. If I had my lambdas to hand, I would just use those, but I also happen to remember that the 6 dice characters are Unicode characters in order starting from 9856. So if you take the Unicode and subtract off 9855, or perhaps a little easier for a human being to remember, if you take the Unicode and subtract off Unicode of this and then add back 1, that'll give you the same thing. But that is just minus 9855. Okay, so these are the rolls. I'm interested in the totals, and that's just going to be a by-row sum. Then I want to know if player 1 gets a bonus. I want to know if player 2 gets a bonus. So player 1's bonus is just switch. If this is 15, they get 2 turns of bonus. If it's 10, they get 1 turn of bonus. Otherwise, they get 0. And player 2's bonus, a little bit more complicated. The logic I'm going to apply here, I'll just break it out separately first. So sorry, actually, it's is the trouble of recording a video twice in one day. I'm not sure I've actually explained these things. Sorry, I explained this one. I don't think I explained this one. So the green race car specialty, player 2. If you roll 3 consecutive numbers as part of one turn, then the next turn is also yours. So that applies here where you roll 1, 2, 3, but it also applies here where you roll 3, 4, 2. So they don't have to roll in sequential order, they just have to make up a sequence. So to handle that, the first thing you might reasonably do is sort the row by column, so you get it in ascending order 2, 3, 4, and then if you compare that to a sequence of 3 columns starting from the minimum of the row, if they're 3 in a row, then those 2 will match. So I'm just going to apply that to every row. I'm going to say by row b3 hash, and lambda, and the function to apply to each row is, I'm going to say and sort row by column is equal to sequence 3 columns starting from the min of row. I'm going to put a minus minus in that, and just to make these a little easier to read, I'm going to make them custom number format so that the zeros are dashes. Okay, so that's if player 1 gets a bonus, if player 2 gets a bonus. What else do we need to say? I don't know, not a lot. So then we need the game number, which is going to start off at 81. We need who's playing, which is going to start off at player 1. Player 1 starts the first game. Then we need a tracker for player 1's bonus. So this tells you what they got on that turn, but we need something that like counts that down from 2 to 1 to 0 and preserves it in between their turns. And then we need a player 1 location and a player 2 location. Okay, so and player 1's bonus by definition will start off at 0. Because a bonus that they get on the first turn doesn't apply until it comes back to being their turn again. So this is player 1, then this will be player 2, and then they get a bonus, so they roll again. So this is player 2, this turn is player 2, and this turn is back to player 1. So this is the first time that they'll actually double. Okay, so now the player 1 location, we're going to say if it's the same game as before, then we take their previous location. Otherwise, well, you can say otherwise 0, although in this case it would behave the same if we left out the otherwise 0. Then we're going to say if player 1 is playing, then we add that total times 1 plus, and we want to say 1 plus player 1 bonus is greater than 0, because this could be a 2 or a 1 or a 0 if we're counting down, and 2 and 1 would both mean bonus. So this 1 plus that greater than 0, if that is true, then this will become 2. In other words, double it, otherwise it'll be 1, meaning don't double it. So player 1 rolls 15, moves to position 15, that all makes sense. Then similar idea for player 2, except that we want to point to player 2 location. We're not interested in any multiplication. And we want this to be player is 2. So I got that all right. So if the game is equal to the game, then you take the previous turn, otherwise 0. Plus, if the player is 2, you take the roll, otherwise 0. Good. So now, if either player is greater than 134, then we add 1 to the game, otherwise we add 0. It would have been easier to read if I started with that. Then playing, we're going to say if this is a new game, then sorry, I don't think I explained that in the rules. So it does say in the rules that players alternate starts here. Players alternate game starts. So player 1 starts the first game, player 2 starts the second game, not whoever ended or didn't end the previous turn. So try that again. Oh, and sorry, one other thing. So let's just say 81 and 82. So I want player 1 to start odd games, player 2 to start even games. So I can say mod this by 2. That'll give me 1 and 0. It would be more helpful if I say mod of this minus 1. And then add 1 back, because then it's translating odds to 1 and evens to 2, which is exactly the logic we want. So we're going to say mod minus 1 plus 1. So we're going to say if it's a new game, if this is not equal to that, then it's going to be mod of game number minus 1 by 2 plus 1. Otherwise, if the previous player is 1, well, player 1 only ever gets 1 turn, so then it becomes 2. And if the previous player is not 1, in other words, the previous player is 2, then it's player 1's turn unless there was a player 2 bonus, which is going to be 1 plus player 2 bonus on the previous turn. So that's who's playing. Player 1 bonus, a little more complicated. I'll think about that in a second. So there we go. So now player 2 makes a roll. They move 6. They get to the next position. They roll again. They get 9. They move to 15. They roll again. They get 5. They move to 20. But this time they don't have a sequence, so we should have player 1 playing the next turn. Why do we have player 2 playing the next turn? Mm, 2 plus G6. Okay, something's wrong there. Let's take a look. Oh, no, all right, that's not it. So let's see. If 81 is not equal to 81, yes. If 2, oh, sorry. Yeah. So I said if player number, what I meant was if player number equals 1. So you got to be careful. Okay, so now we've switched back to player 1. That's good. They roll a 10. That's good, but we need to change the bonus logic so that they are doubling here. So what is the logic? Well, first, we're going to say if the previous player was 1, then if they got a bonus, we want to keep that. If they had a bonus counter, we want to subtract 1 from that and not go below 0. So I'm going to say the max of the new bonus that they added, the old bonus minus 1, and 0. And actually, I don't even need and 0 because this is always either 0 or positive. So I can just say the max of those two. If the previous player was not 1, that means the previous player was 2, then we should just persist the previous value. I think that's the right logic. So then we say here, on player 1's go on the previous turn, they earned a bonus of 2. Then it's player 2's turn, so that doesn't change until we get to here. So now we double that, so that 10 becomes 20. So they go from 15 to 35. Seems to be checking out. And now the bonus that they're carrying over to the next turn is just 1, because this 2 counted down by 1 and this 1 added in, but neither of them overrides. So then if this is right, then we should have one of them cross the finish line on turn 26. And the question is, where is the losing car when the winner crosses the finish line? So if it's right, we should have the winner cross the finish line on turn 26 and the loser be in position 124. So let's drag this down. And sure enough, yep, we have the winner cross the finish line here, and we have the loser at 124. Okay. So then, loser location. Well, sorry, first thing, let's now expand this to take in the whole thing. That's fine. These are already dynamic. This will have to be copied down. And we'll say loser location. We'll say if, so I'm only interested in the location at the end of the game. So if this is different from the next round, that means it's the end of the game, then I want the min of these two. Otherwise, I want the 0. And again, I'll copy this format over so it's easier to see where the turns come out. So at the end of this game, the loser is at 111. At the end of this game, 126, and so on down. And then I just need sequence of 20 starting from 81. And I want some ifs, loser location, where the game number is this. And it would be really embarrassing if I got this wrong, considering that I just did this question this morning, a couple of hours ago, but luckily I got it right. So there we go again, second time around. Yeah, I feel kind of stupid, but that's what I got for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.